Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
Hello everyone and welcome to our show. Welcome good people. By the way, I don't want to discriminate bad people. Bad people welcome as well. You know, everyone who wanna learn, who wanna get valuable stuff, just watch until the end. And I'm excited to discuss today about user experience with Georgi Nemtzov and Leslie Carruthers. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having us. And totally, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, for me, it's a big pleasure. I love learning from experts. I check out your experience. You have a huge background. Before we start, just tell more about your history, background, experience, and why you decided to pay a lot of attention with user experience.
Who starts?
Go ahead, Georgi.
I thought you started already. Sorry. So, okay. Well, probably the most defining thing about me is I got my first computer when I was 10, and I immediately started designing and coding like utility apps and games because this is what I knew at that time. So naturally in high school, then I studied mathematics and physics, but then because of my family background, I was interested in art. So university level, I studied as a film director. And then because I was very interested, I studied cognitive psychology. So basically I started designing digital products from very early age, and that's where I worked all my life. I came to Vienna to work for a company, and my goal basically through everything that I did was to create successful products. That was the and yeah, user experience is definitely a part of that. It's a very key part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of about the user experience angle.
Okay, Leslie, what about you?
Well, for myself, I started the agency, The Search Guru, back in 2004. So there was really UX existed in SEO. And as we've evolved, it's really been, I'm interested in whatever's going to drive lead generation and sales. And the beautiful thing about UX, when layered with conversion rate optimization, CRO, and search engine optimization, SEO, and design and development, is rocket fuel for lead generation and sales. So yeah. And I love getting to work with folks like Georgi, who have such interesting backgrounds and bring so much to the table. And we're able to, what's more fun than taking a bounce rate on a page from 99% to 10%, and bumping revenue up by 128%. I mean, these are things we've accomplished in the last quarter with this particular talent set, which is not common and incredibly powerful.
Yeah, love it. Guys, I think that today you can't develop any products if you don't pay a lot of attention with UX, because I think it's foundation of everything. SEO, paid marketing, any channels, because without UX, it's hard to manipulate search systems. For example, I remember 10 years ago when I started in SEO, we did it, we didn't care a lot about users' intent, about creating high quality content. We just used a mechanism to outrank our competitors. Literally, I bought more backlinks than my competitors. That's it. I didn't do any special stuff, but today it's impossible. It's hard. I don't know. Probably in some niches we can do it, but I'm not sure it's a good idea. It's better to pay attention to users first, and after that, jump on your direct niche. Okay. Before we start, just tell more about, for example, if some companies want to check out their user experience on their websites, where to start, what to do first, which tools to use, and how to handle the process?
Okay, well, first, thank you for stealing my main point. Which
I
which
can.
was sorry, yeah, which was I was really prepared to make this case, like how important, how increasingly important user experience is for SEO, because that's kind of how we sell this service in the context of SEO. And you're like pushing me way back, into something which is like out of my mind at the moment. But well, there are many tools, but I would say if you're really starting, like just like hot Georgis comes into my mind, but if you're really starting to pay attention to user experience, check how your site is performing. Check time on page, for example, which is like a huge intersection between user experience and SEO. For example, check your bounce rates, but that's kind of tricky. So scratch that. Time on page, time on the whole site. Your conversion rate, is very indicative to the quality of the experience. If if people don't convert very well, user experience is one of the things that so this is like to somehow find out if you have a problem with the user experience. Of course, user feedback is another thing. It's always good to have some kind of system for user feedback in place, like intercom, for example, or there are really many others. And another very good practice is to ask your friends, people who don't work for the company, like anyone that you can get your hands on, which has external perspective, extremely important, who is not biased, who is not, like, for example, by the knowledge that you have about the website, because we are just used to the shortcomings of our websites. We get around them because it's our website. But other people,
the curse of knowledge, right,
the curse of
Georgi?
knowledge, exactly, yeah. But other people see them very clearly. So and this is going to even give you some points. If you want, I can tell you what, in my experience, are the most common problems, if that's interesting for the audience.
Yeah, of course it's interesting. And for example, you mentioned about asking your friends. I usually ask my 11 years old son about how he understands
your
content.
parent.
Yeah, and he's unbiased, 100%, and he's not interested with that. I usually bribe him. It's like corruption, with ice cream, and tell him, please read this text. What do you think about that? If
Yes,
he doesn't
he's
understand
unbiased.
anything,
Back what it says. Perfect. And before you go into some examples, that's great. That's brilliant, Anatoly. Before you go into the examples of things that you find that are often wrong, could I just add two things to what Georgi said? So definitely that external point of view is, you can't get anywhere without it. So you have to figure out how to either bring some fresh eyes into your face or get some other bodies around the table. And then looking at what do you have? What's the inventory, if you will, of existing assets you have? Because I think that Georgi would agree, we typically find that the client has just about everything they need, just not all together or in the right places.
The right place. Yeah. They're not using it, let's say, properly. Yeah.
So there's
This
hidden
is
content, right?
Also another another intersection between UX and SEO, by the way. Underutilized content. Yeah.
Or there's content that can be presented in another way at another stage in the journey or the funnel, or with some enhancement, could be really killer.
Yeah. Thank you for the tunnel word.
Yeah.
Funnel, sorry.
And then the last thing really is just that when we are able to use all those tools that Georgie mentioned, and then to take that external point of view and to leverage the existing assets through that external point of view, along with customer facing interviews. We'll talk to anybody in an organization, our clients, to make sure we understand what it is that matters most to the target audience, and what all these the customer facing folks, they know so much, and they make such a contribution to the process, and to us being able to then give back to the client in the right context, in the right flow, in the right fashion, in the right whether it's a video or content or images or icons or whatever, right? That all of that stuff together then means that you're now able to really connect and engage and convert. All SEO ranking factors, to Georgie's point, are wildly affected. Bounce rate goes down, time spent on site goes up, your rankings then go up, your visibility is improved. And as Georgie often brings up on client calls, your clients now have an increased perception of the actual value of what you offer because of the way it's now presented, and your conversion rate goes through the roof.
Yeah, got it. Okay, guys, I want to ask you about checkout.
But Georgie was going to share a couple of the common mistakes that we see, if that makes sense, Anatoly.
Sure, go
just finish your thought. I mean,
I'm interested to know from my personal issues that I have with my clients. For example, many of my clients have big websites with 1,000 pages, and it's hard to check out all these pages with UX. For example, I usually do it manually, or open Google Analytics and analyze pages that rank well, that bring traffic. How to analyze big websites that have many pages, that everything is fine? Because of poor UX, we can lose some traffic, we can lose ranking positions, sales, and we don't know about that, especially if we have limited team, not a lot of people who can pay attention with that. How to do it for big website?
Okay, well, they might have 1,000 pages, but they might have 5-6 page templates, let's say, unless they're using some system that allows them to combine components in very different layouts, and they can just like increase the number of page layouts, let's say, templates exponentially because of that. Then that's a problem. And I wouldn't recommend it, like, if that's what they're doing, for example, like, they should probably stop. It's much easier if you have like very clear templates for the pages, because at the end of the day, the pages, they have certain purpose. Like, you want the page to perform something very well, and kind of make the layout and define this as a template, and then just serialize it, let's say, and then optimize the template instead of optimizing 1,000 pages, because, like, I'm not aware of a way to do this, kind of automatically. There's just, so everything starts with the design, like the same way, like say automotive manufacturers, of cars. They say, really everything starts on the design stage. You do something wrong, then it's very difficult to fix it. So so think about UX when you're designing your design system, like, first. And if you do have like thousands of different templates,
Okay,
probably not a good practice.
Yeah, a good point. Let's talk about templates, about design. For example, even a website that has, I don't know, like 1,000 pages, but most of them like homepage, category, products, blogs,
product detail, pages, blog, exactly, article,
like 5-10 pages. Okay, let's talk about simplifying content. For example, I often see when webmasters just they are trying to copy Amazon or other big websites, even Facebook, but these websites have a billion customers, billion products, a lot. And how to simplify content today? For example, even more, I can see websites that created websites many years ago that was hard to consume, but they taught their audience, to consume this content, to understand the structure. But when new players are coming to the field online, they usually copy old fashion websites. I don't know, because audience of these websites can understand. It's hard for them to redesign. And
are you referring to Facebook or to Amazon with these?
Yeah. But it's hard. I remember that was example with MySpace. MySpace made redesign and lost audience because it's hard to I don't know, like to teach about new design structure. And we have many other examples because these websites need to live with their structure and to simplify a little bit, just go step by step to change some structure. What do you think for new players? How to learn modern design if they want to jump on this field and create a website today?
Okay. Oh, Jesus. That's a question.
Let's say that question again, Georgi, just to get the world of it.
Okay. So many layers here. I mean, I heard that one approach that designers are taking when they're designing their new websites is to copy something that they know it works, like Amazon or Facebook, let's say. And that might not be a good idea because there's a history behind this website working. They probably gradually taught their customers to like learn the interface. And yes, absolutely, it's very difficult to learn something and to learn something new. Like even for me, I'm training my brain to learn new stuff every day. It's still very difficult. It takes a lot of energy. It's probably the most energy consuming brain activity, So so how would they approach it if they don't go and copy someone else, So approach it, I would say from the first.
I mean, like how to create the task, for designers to, for example, if some websites want to jump on this field, they usually check out competitors. They learn competitors, check out them, but many of them have loyal audience, big audience. Their audience knows how to use these websites, how to create the task for a new website. If all your competitors are billion-dollar companies, for example.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to start defining your particular case, let's say, your particular structure. There was
It's funny too, Georgi. May I just, because Anatoly, we typically come in because somebody's not meeting goals. Lead gen, revenue, sales, something's threatened. It's not so much a redesign.
No, but I've done plenty. So
I just thought that was interesting because I'm like, okay, redesign. It makes sense to do it then. How come we don't? We're usually talking to people who are underwater on goals. Yeah. Got it. Go.
So I recently stumbled on I don't remember her name, but she was a UX designer and she was making a very valid point, and I think even she had a course on object-oriented UX, I think she called it. And for me, this is something very natural because I worked as a developer for a very long time. So I know what object-oriented means. But the point she made was that that's how you define a task for a new website. You have to categorize your content, draw some relationships between different content types, let's say, attach some functionalities to it, then kind of come up with a structure, which is like what type of objects, what type of content you have there, what's the functions, what it can do, And after you're ready with this structure, you start with the design of the website. It's a very interesting course. Just look it up, by the way. Yeah, object-oriented UX design or something like that. It was, I think, every designer should know and should have this approach. And apart from that, there are some design principles which I would call modern design principles, which are, I think, being proliferated through the modern designs because they work. And one of these principles is like try to present pages in a linear fashion. Use, let's say, simple messages, one point per section, let's say. Like almost you think of it, it doesn't matter if it's a desktop site, but think of it as if it's a mobile site, as if it's a mobile view. And then there are again some principles which you can, by the way, borrow from established companies. For example, Amazon has really good examples. The way they handle checkouts and add to cart and things like that. Like the way they structure the product detail page, for example, like the way how the add to cart button is like so high up and so accessible, for example. There are some things you can borrow from established sites. Just be very, very mindful. Does that apply to your case? So if you're building an e-commerce site, it's not a bad idea to borrow some stuff from Amazon. And by the way, also from maybe an underdog, but also very successful website, AliExpress, for example. I've seen, for example, how Amazon designers borrowed some cart functionality from AliExpress. Which, by the way, still can be an acquisition tactic. Like when you're starting up, you have to kind of steal the customers from somewhere else, let's say. So in this context, Amazon did it because they want to make make customers of AliExpress feel comfortable on their website. So yeah, start from your to try to sum it up. Start from your particular case. Use modern design principles, which are mostly oriented around simplicity, and borrow things from established players if it makes sense in your particular case.
Yeah, got
The other thing that I see the team do a lot, Anatoly, is to make sure they're interviewing all the customer-facing folks to hear what makes a difference for them, so that those
Talk
can
to
go
sales,
on that.
yeah.
Exactly. And then I'm just looking at some notes we had from other projects, and I'm just basically stealing Georgi's words. Georgi and Kate are working on this together. So you mentioned the linear piece, then also making sure that you're using all the different ways you can communicate your videos, your images, and your text to say the same message. And that message came from talking to sales. Is that right?
Well, this is it's kind of a conversion optimization. It's something that would come up in conversion optimization context. Yeah, kind of use multimodality. The different people take information easily in different ways. Some like to read, some like to watch.
Yeah,
I got distracted by made in Chinese, good or bad.
Yeah, it's interesting comment, not related to our conversation, but a little bit about AliExpress. Yeah,
it's better. Made in China is getting better. Like I have a, excuse me, I have a Chinese product. It's a bit dusty. I can just give you an example.
By the way, I have China products, Apple. It's made in China.
Very good point. But I can give you an example with this particular one. I really like their story, by the way. It's a Chinese company this is a remote control for RC models. What was the name of the company? Jesus. Okay, sorry. Anyway, Chinese company competing with some really old players in the US, by the way. And they're just beating them up on every parameter. Like this thing is cheaper, like probably 2 or 3 times cheaper than the equivalent remotes from the not named companies. It has more functionality. It has a better user interface. It's altogether more modern than what these companies are producing nowadays. They basically haven't changed their product line. So to whoever also so there's another thing to add to your question, by the way. To whoever starts a website new, don't be afraid to innovate.
Totally.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Yeah, I mean,
test. Test.
Yeah.
Another thing that comes up often, Anatoly, that I would add to maybe not the task list for the developers, but the task list for the project, is to go solicit testimonials or make sure you have all of those together, because that's the best marketing copy you could ever have. Right? And then use those everywhere. Make sure that that's in your templates. Go ahead, Georgi.
I mean, sorry.
I have the question about the process. Okay, for example, I often see when webmasters create the task for designers, please create this page, but they don't share the text for this page. Just use some blocks. We will submit text there. What do you think about this idea? It's good or not? Can you share the right process, of creating the entire content on website?
Yeah. Okay. Very good question, by the way. It's actually a big problem. I think it kind of teaches designers not to care about the copy, not to care about the content.
That's a great point.
Yeah, which is really, really bad, let's say. Like because I saw all the
silos, right? Silos.
No, I mean I noticed all the negative consequences of this. Designers not caring about the copy, about what kind of text is there. I started to be very interested in copywriting, for example, in UX editing and things like that. I kind of forced myself, to be a good writer. Because like recently I saw a very good example of this, by the way. It was it was the website of Pixelmator Pro, which after visiting I bought. It's a competitor to Photoshop, by the way, image editing program. They had one section in which they were talking about their AI powered functionality there. And because obviously the designers were working with copywriters, so the copy was ready before the design, they had the word AI in the title, colored in yellow, and then in the content of the section, every icon which said AI, was also colored in yellow, for example, like a very nice, like you can go to the website of the Pixelmator Pro and see the section I'm talking about. Like you can't do things like that, for example, unless you either designers are working together with copywriters, or the designers are the copywriters. And it was very effective. It was a little thing. The things like this, they work very well on minimalistic designs, let's say. And also, and this is like one of the possible negative effects. I've seen many designs where the design is completely detached from the meaning of the copy. And so instead of the design enhancing the meaning of the message, let's say, and like working together with it, they go in different direction. Let's say there's someone introduced some design style, just like that, not because it makes sense, together with the copy, with the message, and then someone else misused it, and then it goes against the copy, and then the whole thing really doesn't make sense. So yeah, either work together. Copywriters and designers should work together, or teach your designers to write copy.
Yeah,
I would say.
Okay. Okay, guys, I have the question about how to understand the metric from Google Analytics, bounce rate and time on site.
Oh,
Do we need
thank
to
you.
consider this metrics? Yeah, because
Yes.
I
No,
think, yeah. Oh, okay, go ahead. Share more
Yeah.
about that.
Thank you. That was that's a question I'm like so prepared about, because it's kind of a huge deal, with us. And also it's a very controversial topic somehow. Like, we know from experience, just like by looking at the page rankings, like, you can't help but notice that there is a correlation between bounce rate and between time on site and ranking. On the other hand, clearly by what Google is saying, they're not using bounce rate, and I can definitely understand why, because the way it's measured, it's not really reliable. You can't really say that someone stayed on the website and read something unless they do something which is some kind of analytics event. So and there's like a whole bunch of problems with using bounce rate as a ranking signal. Instead, what Google is using is something which they actually care way more about. They don't care so much about the bounce rate of your website. What they care about is how valuable and how accurate their service is. So, for example, if you're presented the search result page, you click on a result, you go to the web page, and then you bounce back to the search results, and then you click another result, and then you bounce back, and then you click a third result, and then you stay the most time on this third page, and then maybe you might bounce back. They're measuring these times, and if it's a short time, I think they were calling it short click and long click. If a short click is bad, so if somebody goes to your website and kind of goes back to the search results within 10 seconds, that is, according to Google, is a signal that kind of something is wrong. It could be either that this is the wrong audience for this page, or if they are certain that this is the right audience for this page, then the experience of the page is suboptimal. The content is not presented, let's say, in a very understandable, consumable way, or the interaction is not easy, it's not clear, or something like that. Like they don't keep their attention. Like, drawing attention and keeping attention on a page is a huge thing of what we are trying to do, by the way. Yeah, and on the other hand, if it's a long click, so if they stay longer before they go back, then that's a good signal for them, and they would rank the page higher if users stay longer on it before going back. And this is probably where also time on site kind of matters. Like what we found in experience is, if we do everything possible to decrease the bounce rate, which means basically to give the user something immediately that is going to create some interest, some desire to explore the page, let's say, and then make this exploration really engaging, which increases the time on page. if we do these things, then this positively affects the ranking. And I think that's the mechanism, the short clicks and the long clicks, which Google uses. They have actually a specific term for this bounce rate. Let me, as I can never remember it. Pogo sticking.
Pogo sticking.
They call it pogo sticking. So
we saw, Anatoly,
bouncing.
Georgi, may I share about the study that we did in Q4? Yeah, we had a very large client, almost 3 million pages on their website. And they were ranking on page 2 for a key term for which they should have been by all the standard SEO metrics on page 1. And when the team dug in, what they saw was the UX of the folks who had, 2/3 of the domain authority as our brand new client had worked on their UX. It was a much cleaner UX and interface. They were outranking by 5 slots when we first noticed.
This is what kind of drew our attention to these metrics, which they Google is like, no, we are not using this. I mean, in general, my approach to UX for SEO is like, listen, Google is not going to share their to open source their algorithm. Even if Elon Musk buys them, he's still not going to open source Google's algorithm. And there are like really thousands of reasons for that. So and from what I know from such algorithms, from my limited experience with writing something similar, is like, even if you change something really small in such a thing, the effect can be huge. So even if we know from what Google is revealing, even if we know 90% or even 99% of algorithm, we still don't know everything. So I think it's a little bit, it's very difficult chasing after the algorithm, so
much better to chase the human beings.
So exactly, that's a very good point, because at the end of the day, instead of trying to please the algorithm, we have to realize that the algorithm is there. To the point you made in the very beginning, the algorithm is there to predict or to analyze what people actually like. So
and we know we have 3 seconds when a human being comes to the page to grab and hold our attention, right, Georgi?
Yeah. For example, this is one of the examples, like human-centric, let's say, approach, and just like think about how humans function. What do they like? Because the algorithm is trying to like what they like at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you're way better off if you try to make a very usable, very valuable, interesting, engaging.
Like make it
website.
really clear for the visitor to see, is what I need here.
One of the very important aspects. Yeah.
And then offer different entry points for them to solve their pain, whatever had them start their search. And to Georgi's earlier point, then introduce the information in a linear fashion, one piece at a time, in the order that makes sense for someone who's trying to solve the problem that the page is designed to solve.
Yeah, from the most intriguing and most promising at the top, probably.
Yes.
Interesting about that foundation of human psychology. I remember from books like Josh Sugarman, Whiteman, and they wrote on their books, you need to catch attention in the start, in the beginning, of your text. So if you can't, we can see today 80% of users just leave website and never come back, never regret about your website, because they have a lot of other options today, many other websites, like 1.8 billion websites online, so they have choices.
And once you won that first battle, if you will, of the 3 seconds, it never stops. Right? We have to keep them interested that there's more to read, so that they stay longer and read more and discover the solution to their problem.
But exactly. And Anatoly, absolutely great point. Don't forget that you are putting your website out there on the net in a very, very competitive environment.
And the main recommendation, simplify. Yeah, if someone opens website and can see hard written content or how to understand what the main point of your website, why they need to figure out to waste their time. It's better to leave it and forget. So Joe Sugarman wrote, you need to start from simple, not complete sentence. Just start from sentence, for example, I don't know, like I'm Anatoly Ulitovsky, к примеру. I'm Georgi Nemtzov. The second, welcome to my website. To start from simple sentence, and you can, grow with that. Just to increase.
Very good point. Very good point.
Mhm.
We actually used exactly that in because we also started writing scripts for marketing videos.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I remember the very first actually we produced. We used exactly this technique. It was like very simple sentence. Also a sentence that everybody could agree. They couldn't say no to it. I think it was time is money even. And then we kept building from there. So and in this sentence, like if it's a marketing thing, use some keywords that communicate value, like that. That's why, for example, we chose this particular sentence. Although it's a cliche, fine, but there's money in it.
Yeah.
You say money, okay.
I'm still using keywords in the first sentences. I know it's old technique, but when users open your website and they scan the
I mean,
page,
keywords for people. More
if they see your keyword, they understand. Oh yeah, it's my content. It's for me, probably.
It's actually
I need to
voice of
consume more.
customer, right? Anatoly, using keywords is using the voice of the customer.
Yeah.
Or like
yeah.
a voice that customer understands.
Mhm.
Either way.
Yeah, giving their words back to them.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot for your time. It's a big pleasure. I know that we can talk about this the whole day, but yeah, the time is limited a little bit. Thanks a lot for you taking part on my show. Tell our audience how they can reach out to you, learn more about you, follow you.
Sure. We're at thesearchguru.com. And you can find Georgi online. Also, I would recommend checking out his LinkedIn posts. He's posted a few articles. I think there are 4 that I can remember that are
not as many as I would like, by the way. I mean, after all, we have to work, So,
but they help you see how to think about this. And a lot of your questions, Anatoly, were about how to think about things. So I think they'd be really helpful. So we can send you the links, and you can put them in the show notes if you'd like.
Yeah, sure, of course. Send me.
Yeah.
I'll add to the description.
Yeah, and
us,
hey,
us as a team. Yeah, us as a team, thesearchguru.com, definitely.
Yeah,
I
and I'll
have
give my cell
totally
phone
the
if
same
people
problems.
need any help with anything. It's 440-463-3871. So happy to talk with anybody who needs help. We do free work sessions where we dig in with B2B marketers who are solving a hairy problem. We love long, complex sales cycles, and we see a lot of problems and solution sets that make a difference. So happy to take a look at whatever any of your listeners are dealing with and share how other top marketers are solving for it and how we're helping our clients solve for those.
You know what? This is a time and place to mention what actually makes us different than other agencies. And by the way, we heard that a lot from our clients. We not only diagnose what the problem is, like where the problem is. We don't only recommend what the solution might be. We can also design the solution, and on top we can implement it. We can develop it. So clients told us that many agencies stop at the diagnostic and the recommendation thing. But we can design it and implement it, and that's what makes us different, and clients love it so far. So
yeah, nice. Yeah, I love it as well. By the way, I have the same problem that you have, a lack of time. Only 2 my hands. It's hard to write a lot. I wanted to do it. I wanna to film a lot, to write, but actually I need to work as well, to help clients. And my team is working right now with our new tool to create content for existing pages. For example, you mentioned that you wanna help the full process, to help clients to create content, not only to find these errors. I think many tools can do it, but we decided to move forward. We are going to create the tool that will create content with artificial intelligence for existing pages. I'm not sure it will be good from the first attempt. Of course, it takes time, to adapt, but we are going to
needs time to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's our goal.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's a big pleasure. It's a big pleasure to get on my show.
Likewise.
Thank
Yeah, listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. You can find all mentioned links in the description below, and see you next time.
Take care.